and fed up with this foreign stuff. Make me happy cause you treat you wrong. I'm tired and I'm fed up with this foreign stuff. Make me happy cause you treat you wrong. It's anytime you go to the market, you find me home with a foreign basket full with other salmon and all sorts of these. Mildred, what the hell you mean? And anytime I go to school, you want to fight. Look, you better catch you discuss tonight. You know I love the local fish. I love the local fish. I love the local lamb. I love the local yam. I love the local wine. I love the local wine. Oh yes. Well, you must agree. I love the pepper pot and energy. It's people like you, crippling the nation, deliver it by cutting by local. Always talking about obligations. Believe me, I'm by origin, never get this foreign stuff. You bloody louse, or else get to hell out the house. You try and you bound to fail. With me, the buy local must prevail. You know I love the local dish. I love the local fish. I love the local lamb. I love the local yam. I love the local wine. I love the local wine. Oh yes. Well, you must agree. I love the pepper pot and energy. Planted cassava and all is great. Ordered by the bags or by the crates. By local catfish cause I love the band. If I don't get it, I won't come according to the night and I'll cook in a dish. Mildred, I must see me wish. Don't make it lose the tempo or else it's a lash. I want to see me food in me calabash. You know I love the local dish. I love the local fish. I love the local lamb. I love the local yam. I love the local wine. I love the local wine. Well, you must agree. I love the pepper pot and energy. I am sorry, sweet, and I must tell you flat. From now on, I'm cooking me one pot. Because this kind of thing that you're doing is only murder. You inciting, you know I love me cocoa and me callaloo. Me bora and me pumpkin stew. Well, my dear wife, you must agree. If anything in the line and local is me, you know I love the local dish. I love the local fish. I love the local lamb. I love the local yam. I love the local. I'm tired and I'm fed up with this foreign stuff. Make me happy cause you treat you wrong. I'm tired and I'm fed up with this foreign stuff. Make me happy cause you treat you wrong. It's anytime you go to the market, you find me home with a foreign basket full with other salmon and all sorts of these. Mildred, what the hell you mean? And anytime I go to school, you want to fight. Look, you better catch you discuss tonight. You know I love the local dish. I love the local fish. I love the local lamb. I love the local yam. I love the local wine. I love the local wine. Oh yes. Well, you must agree. I love the pepper pot and energy. It's people like you, crippling the nation, deliver it by cutting by local. Always talking about obligations. Believe me, I'm by origin, never get this foreign stuff. You bloody louse, or else get to hell out the house. You try and you bound to fail. With me, the buy local must prevail. You know I love the local dish. I love the local fish. I love the local lamb. I love the local yam. I love the local wine. I love the local wine. Oh yes. Well, you must agree. I love the pepper pot and energy. Planted cassava and all is great. Ordered by the bags or by the crates. By local catfish cause I love the band. If I don't get it, I won't come according to the night and I'll cook in a dish. Mildred, I must see me wish. Don't make it lose the tempo or else it's a lash. I want to see me food in me calabash. You know I love the local dish. I love the local fish. I love the local lamb. I I love me local yam. I love me local wine. I love me local wine. Well, you must agree. I love me pepper, but I never eat. I am sorry, sweet, and I must tell you plain. From now on, I will give you one part. Because this kind of thing that you're doing is only murder. You inciting, you know I love me Coco and me Callaloo. Me Bora, and me Punky Stew. Well, my dear wife, you must agree. If anything in the line and local is me, you know I love me local dish.
All right. Hey, guess what? Welcome to 107.1 FM. We have this special interview with the Dr. Solomon. As you see there, the story was first broke in the Village Voice News. You're not going to get this sort of news in any other newspaper other than the Village Voice News, right? The Village Voice is onto something. They have uh, published this report of this Dr. Solomon, Dr. Berisha Solomon, has been forced to uh, do security guard work in the night. And she is going to say why. Um, she is with us. We'll give you guys an opportunity to share the link because it is important that you hear these sort of things. Thank you, Miss Casey, for asking people to share the link. These are matters that are important to all of us, and it is so important that we must be able to spread the word so that others can listen to what is happening and the racial discrimination in Guyana. And when we talk about the discrimination, people oftentimes, those detractors, they oftentimes like to give this uh, version that we are lying, we are trying to divide Guyana. We are not the ones who are trying to divide Guyana. We are not the ones who are lying. We are giving you the evidence. You know, some of us have personal experiences, and some of us are sharing these sort of experiences that other folks have had. And this is why we have invited Dr. Berisha Solomon to be with us so that she can talk her story. She can explain to you exactly what transpired and the discrimination. And outside of that, you will also get firsthand information as to how people operate the way they do in Guyana, why they do things. I'm not saying that we should accept it and it's an excuse or whatever, or why people, for the most part, protect their jobs or do whatever that is necessary. I don't know, but I'm going to be talking to this young doctor, and we appreciate if you share the link. And when you share the link, we will get started as early as possible. Um, yeah, find a. Sorry about that. We're trying to be connected. Some sort of difficulty in getting her. So, yep. Sorry about that. Yep. One second, please. We're actually, we are one second, please. We're actually live, so we will do this interview right here, like this. We're not going to wait until WhatsApp and the internet and so forth in Guyana. But you're live on the air. Good morning. We don't need a camera. We just deal with the. We don't need your camera, please. Just audio. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, Dr. Solomon. How are you doing?
I'm trying to be okay.
You are trying to be okay, and
Yes.
let me just welcome you to the show. We have lots of folks who are tuned in Guyana. Those who are listening to us via the radio on the ground. and those who are listening via social media. We ask that those who are on social media to share the link, and we ask that those who are listening to via their radio on the ground in Guyana to spread the word and have people tuned in to 107.1 FM. Before we begin, at least let us get a little background as to who Berisha Saskia Solomon is and which part of Guyana are you from and so forth. Give us a little background.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Barisha Saskia Solomon. I'm a medical doctor by profession. I am 31 years old of age. I'm a single mom. I'm having a 2 years old son. I'm from Cummins Lodge. So you can say I'm a Georgetown girl. I'm a Cuban trained doctor. I lost my father when I was 10 years old, so I grew up basically with my mom and my grandmother. And this is very important to my story because I want viewers to understand that I am not a rich person and I'm not from a rich family. And it's just heartbreaking to know that my mom and my grandmother would have spent, the entire saving, to nurture me into the woman I am today. And now I'm an adult and I have to battle with racism in my own country in a modern day. It is really, really sad and heartbreaking.
Before we get to that racism, I'm glad that you're saying that you were nourished by your mother and your grandmother and the importance of family and the roles that they have played, especially in the, we celebrated Mother's Day yesterday as well. But before we get into the racial discrimination and these manner of things, have you always wanted to become a doctor, or were there other things you had in mind?
So initially, I had wanted to do law, which is true, but because of the money to study law, it's really expensive. That's the reason why I would have shifted to medicine. And this was in primary school. I wanted to do law because of my dad. But then, as I started in primary school here at St. Joseph High School, that was when the Cuban scholarship would have started and all of these things. So I would have worked towards that while attending St. Joseph High School. And even when I went over to President's College, I went to science stream and I never gave up on, my dream of becoming a doctor.
Okay, so after you passed common entrance, you went over to
St. Joseph High School.
Yeah, and then yeah.
Yes, and then President's College for fourth and fifth form. So I wrote CXC at President's College. And my CXC was not nothing fancy. My grades was not anything fancy. But nevertheless, I still tried my best. I did not let the grades, what I had, keep me back in life. I continued to press on and press through. And I keep telling people, I said, that was back then, back in the days, I would have wrote CXC, maths, and English 3 times before I could have passed it. And I'm not ashamed to tell people
let me say this to you. If I pause you for a moment so that our listeners could understand. I've already noticed that there's a comment saying that you're a staunch PPP woman and cuss out for, look, I don't want to go that route. It doesn't matter who she's a staunch this and she's a peep. It doesn't matter. Let us not be distracted. Okay? So she's not here for anybody to belittle her or anybody to attack her because of a position she may have taken. All right? So please, this is not the forum for any form of cussing out. We will hear this young doctor's plight. We will try to understand her story because there are hundreds, probably thousands of other young people like her who are in and other doctors who are going through the same problem. So I'm not bothered about who she cuss out. I want us to listen to her story, and then you may understand why she cuss out. Because sometimes people hear somebody cussing out on the veranda, they don't know why, but they jump in the story and start accuse and abuse out, and that has been some of our mentality. And so I didn't bring this young lady, this young doctor, on here because of who she may have cussed out for and who she may have affiliated. We all cuss out people. I cuss out. You guys cuss out. Nobody's perfect. All right. So please let us listen to her story, right? Let us listen to her story. And if you're going to be disrespectful and talk a bunch of crap, some of you, mind you, not all of that, you don't know about, this is not the forum for you to listen to. All right.
And that is exactly
Good.
what the government wants. The state
This,
Afro-Guyanese to bash the story and
all right.
kill the story.
So this is not a forum for you. Just go to another forum where you can cuss out and try to belittle this young doctor. It's not going to be tolerated here at all, period. All right? So continue, Doc. Talk about,
Yes,
give us an idea about,
I will say about the
go ahead.
CXC, the struggles I went through. I wrote the CXC, the Maths and English, 3 times before I passed it the third time. Thanks to Mr. Lee and then Miss Ingrid Fong, you know, they really tried their best with me there, and I passed it, and thank God. And that's how I would have able to gain the minimum requirements to apply to get a scholarship to go to Cuba. Before I went to Cuba, I happened to marry, and then I went on to Cuba. During those years, it was challenging. I can tell anybody studying in Cuba is very hard, very, very hard.
You say studying in Cuba is very, very difficult. What are some of the difficult experiences that you would have?
What persons need to understand, remember Cuba, they have this blockage deal. And when you go there are a lot of stuff that is not, that the country do not have. However, while studying there, you have to make do with whatever little the Cuban government gives to us. And we thank them for that because they gave us our best. You know, some morning, as I tell people, you get up, you take a shower, you go after the Commodore. It was one tennis roll, Mr. Mark and stuff. I accustomed to 2-3 tennis roll, right? Before I go. It was one tennis roll you have to take. It is with a yogurt or a cup of milk in the morning for breakfast. You imagine that? Lunchtime, it was one of these, you know, these dal thing with dip dal with Mr. Mark. One of that rice you get back to eat at lunchtime, sometimes with a bilex. So sometimes they do not, and they said, because if they do not get to make this thing they call sopa, which is like this spaghetti noodle with they boil it up with little water, like to make a sopa to go with the rice. If you don't get the resources to make that, all you gotta eat is the bilex with the little rice for lunch. Or sometimes, as I tell you, is the little sopa, which is gonna be the little spaghetti little noodle, gonna throw on top of the same white rice. If it's a little bacon cut out, or if it's 2 sausage. Sometimes we eat 2 sausage for lunch. On Fridays, you will get a piece of chicken on our food. They will give us something ensalada and cut up a little tomato and put there. Sometimes you have a little cup of drink.
But at least you guys got something to able to
exactly.
get you through.
They never left us to hunger. They never left us to hunger. And mind you, please, this is the basic diet for the Cubans. So it's not that I'm criticizing.
Definitely not. So you got
lunchtime for dinner is another tennis roll. And you drink it with a little juice, and you gotta go and study all night.
Okay, so so you were able to do how many years in Cuba before you returned to Guyana?
So I did the first year, I did my pre-med, then I studied for 5 years. I completed the 5 years in medicine, and then my final year I would have returned home for my internship here in Guyana.
Okay, so you returned after spending how many years in Cuba?
6 years. After spending
6 years.
I sacrificed my youth. Yes, 6 years in Cuba.
Good. So when you returned to Guyana, what was it like and where were you placed?
So I returned to Guyana. It was in 2015. The new government would have now, the previous government, which was the Afro government, they would have now taken over office. So when we come, there was a lot of changes and stuff like that. However, they start sending us off to the different regional hospitals then to do our internship, and we would have started our internship just in September 2015. We studied for that entire year, and in 2016 we would have graduated. Everybody that came home, I think it was 80 something of us, we came back home.
Okay, so you were stationed where again?
I was at West Demerara Regional Hospital. Once you were from Region 4, Region 3, we had to go to West Demerara Regional Hospital.
Describe for our listeners your stint there at West Demerara Hospital. What was it like?
So at West Demerara Hospital, It was nice working there. I wouldn't lie because all of our lecturers were the Cuban lecturers, our tutors, and they do not have no discrimination and segregation and trying to suppress nobody. They were not about that. They were all about training us and ensure that we gain all the knowledge we need so that we could go out into the world of work after we finish graduating. So I would have, my lecturers, they taught us well, myself, my other colleagues, so it was okay. However, it was still at the ending part of my internship when a drama would have started with myself and another doctor. She would have graduated years before me, right? But it was not
We will get to whatever little drama. What I want to do is to extract the relevant matters in this particular story for our listeners who are now joining us. We have online with us Dr. Saskia Solomon. She is explaining her story for discrimination, racial discrimination, her term, and we will get to that. And so you were placed there as this young doctor, now out of medical school and so forth. Before we get back to that, you being a doctor and so forth, were you politically active? Did you get a scholarship
no,
because of politics, or what reason?
no,
Yeah.
no. I did not get my scholarship because of no political affiliation, like the way how some of them made their way to Cuba because they know people in political position. They did not even got the basic requirements, but they meet on the plane. And other people who had the requirements, they meet on the plane. And it's a reality. I got my grade, as I told you. I had to get in maths and English before I go to Cuba. I wrote back my thing 3 times. I had to work and pay lesson fee, Mr. Mar, as a sales girl to go right back those CXC maths and English. And I did what I had to do, and I get my maths and English, and I went off with my 9th subject to Cuba, because I think it was 5 you had to get. Some of them get 4 subject alone, and they meet on the plane, and they didn't even have maths and English. Thank God for linkage, make them meet.
You were given this scholarship, and you were, as many recipients would have to return, and immediately upon your return, you were sent to West Demerara Hospital, right?
Do the internship.
For the internship. And what was the internship like for us, and the experience? Please talk about that.
The internship, as I keep saying, it was okay because we were just medical interns, really and truly, and we were under the care of our Cuban lecturers, and they were the one that was guiding us along. Still, during internship, I can tell you a few Afro interns had they had little challenges, I wouldn't lie, with some of these races in the system. But however, we were protected by the Cuban lecturers. I know of a few Afro doctors would have said during the internship, so-and-so doctor who would have graduated before them, try to put things in the air of the Cuban lecturer for failing and all these things. You understand me?
Let me ask, what are some of the discrimination Afro Guyanese doctors were faced with? According to you, they were discriminated against. What are some of the discriminations?
Wow. Some of them is simple things, that they would just don't give them patient to attend to, and then spend the narrative saying that they don't want to attend to patient. There's something will happen to me. All wickedness. Instead of them getting the doctors them to practice physically and see patients, they want to send the doctor them for run, go to the lab. That's not our job to do, you're supposed to get people to do lab run-ins, and then when done, they're going to go run and tell the lecturer how so-and-so doctor in doing the work, and they're not attending to the patient live. I know of colleagues personally, people, other doctors telling them, but they're going to go and talk to the Cuban lecturer to fail them for the internship. I can tell people this is real. This is Guyana, it's real.
It is real indeed, and the discrimination.
It's real racism in Guyana's medical fraternity is real, and this is something that Guyanese people need to open their eyes and know. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, my daughter want to be a doctor." I say in Guyana, I wish them well. Make sure you build them strong mentally, because I know what I'm going through and I know what other doctors have been through as well.
So the internship was supposed to last how long before you guys were sent?
Just for 1 year, and it lasted for 1 year. And we all passed thanks to the Cuban doctors. We had full protection from them, and they ensured everything went well with us. We had our exam and we wrote it. Everybody passed, and that was it.
So after the internship, tell us exactly what happened. You guys are allowed to go out and practice on your own there?
No. So because we're Cuban trained doctors, and because of the fact that this current government could have started sending a lot of doctors to Cuba to train, now the Guyana market for doctors, it become flooded. The older doctors in the system started to feel threatened by the amount of doctors coming in. Remember, they are accustomed to oil in the market, and they are accustomed to getting a private clinic. So they could make all the money what they making. So because of the fact that a lot of doctors were start coming into the system, they developed something called an institutional booklet, right? Now, this booklet, they claim that we have to rotate after our internship for 18 months in 5 different departments. And upon completion of the 18 months, then is when they're going to issue us our full license or full registration. However, they gave us, before we start working as doctors, because you got to get a license anyhow, they gave us an institutional license to practice with. Now, the institutional license means that you cannot practice private, period. And it's there written in the medical act for Guyana, right? And it stated that after 3 years, you can no longer get back an institutional registration, and you have to get a full registration. All of that is there in the medical act.
Okay, so
right?
What exactly is your position now? Have you been confirmed by the...
I never got my full registration because of racial discrimination. I never got it.
All right,
all the requirements.
We're going to get into that, but you mentioned earlier that there was a little friction, an altercation between you and another doctor at West.
During my internship, this was in June 2016. At that point in time, I didn't own no license as a medical doctor, and it was a big Facebook shenanigans between me and this doctor and another doctor, and I keep telling myself, man, this doctor's a fair, because it wasn't about no patient, and it wasn't about no, and it was this was a social media something. You understand me? And the abuse out did not happen on no hospital facility or nothing.
So there was abuse out between you and another doctor. What was the cause of abuse out between you and another professional?
It's because she was in a relationship with another doctor. The doctor used to assist me to study for my Cuban medical board exam.
Okay, so we're not gonna. I'm not interested in that now that you've mentioned. So upon reflection, the kind of Facebook views out and so forth, in retrospect, you would say that probably it could have been handled differently.
Well, you remember the issue between me and the doctor now. If me and you views out on social media, she say threaten she kind of thing, and me husband, my ex-husband threaten she kind of thing. Now, Mr. Mark, she could have gone to the police and let the police come and arrest me and take me to court.
All right. So let's go back to abuse out do happen. Abuse out do happen. You're not the first abuse out. And I'm sure you're not the last that abuse out. Almost every day people abuse out on social media. Jack, they abuse out. Everybody abuse out. Vanali abuse out. Everybody abuse out. So let's get to the matter and the reason why you know.
So the matter now, we abuse out during the summertime. Now, the doctor, she would have waited 1 week after I started working at Georgetown Hospital, when she knew that the medical council board would have now issued me my license as a medical practitioner, right? Then is when she waited to photocopy all of these views out, inbox message, everything, and take it to medical council board and tell them how I harassing she. The medical council board of Guyana know to themselves that don't have nothing to do with them. That have nothing to do with them. But they are so wicked, from the chairman come right down to the secretary. You hear what I'm telling you? They wrote me a letter stating how they are in receipt of some complaint from the doctor name, I can't call out your name, right? Dr. So-and-so for professional misconduct. They invited me to get meeting, right? Now, I thought up there, January, they wanted the meeting. I thought up there to meet with my lawyer. My lawyer tell him, so there's got nothing to do with y'all. Every lawyer, I see this evidence we are talking about. You can't cut and paste something and carry to no council board and send a doctor views you out. You gotta show the hyperlink. We're part to cut this thing out. No Facebook, nothing in it.
So let me say this to our listeners, that the medical council deals with not personal conduct of doctors, but it deals with matters such as malpractice and so from me, and I'm sure a lot of our other listeners, sensible listeners, will be able to say that something isn't right, that there is a personal exchange between two doctors, and that is now a matter for the medical council. It's kind of suspicious, a red flag there for me, but continue, please.
Good. Yes, so my lawyer told him, listen, these two doctors fighting over some male doctor A, so something like that. What does that to do with y'all? Eh? What exactly was this doctor abusing out in the hospital facility? Was any patient at risk while they were abusing out? Was patient care compromised? No, not necessarily. But the chairman of the medical council board, and all the members them with the secretary, because she's a big campus one, because she is the one who the same doctor went to and talk about the issue. So she's the secretary, she's the one who is responsible for bringing whatever case to the board attention, to the chairman attention.
Okay, so it was brought. Good. So it was brought to the attention of the medical council. They adjudicated on the matter. You were there with your lawyer. What was the conclusion, really?
The conclusion was that at the end, that they would send me all of the photocopy evidence, and they tell my lawyer, and my lawyer told them, my lawyer said, where exactly are you going to come out to this? Here they tell me that if I don't admit to abusing out this doctor and admit to professional misconduct, I could go before the medical council board disciplinary committee for discipline. Yeah, that's what I told her to tell me in the meeting. And you know, we left that meeting. I got me where she went me and the lawyer got my way. You hear what I'm telling you? No, I didn't running back to them. No, I saw what going on with the case. This was around the April time, same 2017. Then they get no verdict yet on the case and all kind of thing. That time now when they're working at Georgetown Hospital in the general surgery department. You hear what I'm telling you? The same department where a lot of the council board members are on. So they don't know to themselves, we're going to keep this case hanging over your head for blackmail shit for the rest of your career. This is exactly what happened to me. No.
When you say this case, you mean the social media cuss out between you and this other doctor?
And this fake case when the doctor took to them, that they're nothing to. Since when she bring that, they should have tell her go to the court and let it go to the police and take the doctor to court. This got nothing to do with counsel.
All right, continue.
Nothing to do with counsel, right? My lawyer wrote them and tell them what exactly going on to end this craziness and let me come back again and get the next meeting. Them listen, they never replied to me. You hear what I tell you? But don't worry, the secretary's down there, she down. The hard job is to, it's our dirty job there. The secretary, whoever letter you send in, tear up your letter.
All right, here is what the juicy part that we want our listeners to hear in terms of the racial discrimination. In the Village Voice News, it says here, doctor by day, guard by night. How did you reach to that point where you have to, as a doctor, can no longer support yourself or your family? You have to leave now to do guard work in the night. Doctor in the day, guard in the night. How have you arrived here?
How that ended up happening is that because of the fact that I never got my, as I tell people, I keep fighting to get my full registration. And because of the fact that the current Minister of Health was on Medical Council Board from 2018 to 2020, where they kept blackmailing me with the same case, all I reached out to the former Minister of Health, they never intervened and put them to the place at Medical Council and tell them to stop it.
So when you say you reached out to the former Minister of Health, what sort
My
of
lawyer
assist?
wrote her a letter.
Yeah,
My lawyer wrote
her,
her a letter.
her as in who?
Minister Paula Lawrence, my
Okay.
lawyer wrote her a letter. And also I had an hearing with Minister Cummins about the same issue, about the same blackmail case, about professional misconduct what the medical council had, the former chief medical officer. He started his own campaign and going around the place and demonizing me to every single body in position, telling them this doctor before medical council disciplinary committee should be used on a doctor. Yeah, they and told Minister Cummins the same thing. He lied and tricked and manipulated Minister Cummins. And Minister Cummins that because I'm before the medical council disciplinary committee, he can't issue me my full registration now. Although I would have met all the requirements and passed my rotations them to get the full registration. He said because I'm before the medical council disciplinary committee for professional misconduct, this is why he can't give me full registration. Yeah.
Yep. Some slight technical problem. We'll try to reconnect with her. I understand some of you have your opinions about this matter, which is expected, and in a democracy, it happens. But one of the things that I would repeat, we are not going to be distracted by other minor issues. We want to get to the crust of the matter and get from her exactly. In fact, I just want it to remain relevant, right? I understand what some of you might be saying. I understand how some of you might feel or so forth. But I prefer that it not be the forum for that sort of engagement at this time. That's all I'm saying. People are entitled to their opinion, but it's just a regular back and forth, same stuff. I again, I don't know this young lady, but I'm trying to get to the bottom of her situation. That she feels that she's been discriminated against as a result of her race, as a result of her ethnicity, and in no society that should be accepted. Once there is a preponderance of evidence to substantiate her point of racism and racial discrimination by the PPP regime, I'm interested in that. Now, there are some folks who are of the view that she loves to abuse out. And again, I don't want to get involved with that. Hi. Yes, sorry about that. So continue, please.
You know how racist the former chief medical officer of Guyana is. You know, it's so sad that he just go around the place with all of these Afro-Guyanese nurses and try to sell people a dream and fantasy that he is so racist. I went to him and he knew to himself that I would have met the requirement in 2018 to get my full registration, but all because of the fact that while I was working at Georgetown Hospital, you hear what I'm telling you? In 2017, this is a part I missed out to tell people, in the general surgery department, I would have encountered issues with Indo-Guyanese doctors there. You hear what I'm telling you? With the senior ones I'm in the department and a couple of those residents. You hear what I'm telling you? And one of them on the medical consult board signed my booklet out with a fail grade of 2. That is what he did to me. And I complained bitterly to the senior, the brigadier, for all of them in the general surgery department.
When you say
CMO and tell the CMO what's going on. So when I'm ready to go now for getting registration, I can't get it.
You said the brigadier. That is Lewis you're talking about, Brigadier Lewis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was the
same racist one from the general surgery department. He did not want to sign. He did not want to put nothing in my book. And if somebody don't put nothing in your book, it means you cannot move on. Either they fail you or they don't. They have to put something. And because I went to him and he would have intervened and tell him let him make sure they put let him look after and start out the issue. The same racist one, he put 2 inside of the booklet. I didn't expect him to pass it because I already encountered the issue with them. He put it 2 inside of the book. He make sure he got an Afro-Guyanese resident doctor, senior resident. to support the grade. Let the doctor write up a set of thing about me. The doctor told he said, Dr. Salomon, you know, they my residency sick program, you know, things good. I ain't got no issue with you. I sorry what I do with you, and I sorry what happened.
No, and you know, we have the world of time, but I don't want to keep going on and on. I just want our listeners to get a better understanding as to, because when we saw this headline that doctor by day, guard by night, we want to hear what is happening, because even in other parts of the world, they have professionals, they have lawyers who are doing Uber work as well because they can't get a proper job, even in the US and other places. Lawyers doing Uber work. I'm sure there are doctors doing other jobs as well. So this came across as somewhat surprising that in Guyana, you have a doctor, a medical doctor is obviously doing your doctoral duties in the day, but in the night. In the night, you are basically a security guard doing the night shift. Here is a photograph of you working as a security guard. How did it reach to this point, please?
So as I said, because of the fact that I never got the full registration, they planned and plotted for me in 2020 during the recount when I would have went back to the former chief medical officer. Forget my full registration because I don't do back the rotation. All the rotations we said we could do back for the second time, I went back and do them, I passed it. Now we're going for this full registration. No, you can't get the full registration. You government gonna go in town, you're gonna ensure that you walk back no more. Yeah. So during the recount period, guess what? I made friends with a lot of people in the party because I know to myself.
Just one second, Doc. I need for you to repeat that particular part of your story, and I want folks to listen carefully as to what you have to say. Right? I want you guys to listen carefully to what she has to say. But before you do, I ask that you clarify something, because I noticed one of our listeners is asking whether retired Brigadier Lewis is a racist. That's not what you said, did you?
He's a racist. In what way is he a racist?
No. Somebody. One second. Somebody thought that is what you said, so they're asking for clarification.
No. Remember, Brigadier was sent there by the former president because of the multiple complaints of the racism going on there.
Okay, so that got fair enough. We got you. All right.
No, so listen. I went to adult doctors to go and talk to these at the general surgery to sign the book, and nobody comes to help. It's only the brigadier. He has to call the head of the general surgery department, who is the chairman of the medical council board, and tell him intervene in the issue and make sure the book gets his signature.
Okay, so he actually reached out to help you. Good.
Yes.
I'm glad that that's a clarification there. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Let's get to the point now where you were making
a point.
Yes, go ahead.
So I finished getting my grades. I'm ready to go and get my full registration now. And the former chief medical officer is still the chief medical officer. Remember, he would have already done trick up Minister Cummings and tell him about before the medical council and all kind of crazy. But you remember there's a recount period. He told me, no, I cannot get it. And they're going to make sure that I get fired. Now I ensure Mr. Mark, I got to save my job. Remember, I'm on a contract, a 5-year contract, right? And I still got a year and something more leave back. I ensure I make fun with a lot of persons in the PPP government. I would have I knew some of them before election time, I wouldn't lie. And but I never campaigned for no side, no PPP. I keep telling people when it comes to politics, I'm reserved, I'm unbiased. I didn't campaign for nobody, right? Now, when he told me this, I said, what the hell? Now, if the Afro government never going back forward, what will happen to me? Yeah? So I become friends with a lot of people. And when they end up, when the new president was sworn in August, I say, okay, I start on Facebook, glorify the government and all this kind of thing. They appoint me to be on one of the boards then. somebody put me on the board. I love being
okay,
on the board.
let's take a pin for a moment, Doc, and so that we can ensure that our listeners get to hear and understand clearly what you just said. You are afraid of, not
Losing my job.
losing your job, and because of that fact, you, when these folks were installed into office, you decided to praise them and love them up and befriend some of them, glorify, and one second, and even cuss out other people for them, right? You're admitting to that. All right, fair enough. Why did you do that again? You said, continue.
I'm gonna tell you how them cuss out at the work. I'm gonna tell you because it's working well in my favor for something. No, I cuss out, I do all what I have to do, and it was so sad, but my friends and wherever, they didn't say it because they know that my hand is tiger mouth with my registration and my job. You understand me? Now they appoint me to go on this board. Everybody now think being on a board is a big fancy position. It is not. And they think like you're getting $1 million salary month. No. Let me tell you, everybody in Guyana, I was on that board and I was being given a stipend of 10,000 Guyana dollars a month. Every single month for being a board of director. 10,000 Guyana dollars or $50 US a month. Along with $3,000 as gas allowance, travel allowance, $13,000 every single month as a board of director. The entire Guyana get his dream and fantasy that once the government appoint you to be on a board, you're getting fancy money. No, it wasn't in my case. That was what I was given. However, I served on that board for 1 year. Okay, and as I say, I did what I had to do. I abused out Harmon, I abused out Vala Lawrence, I abused out all of them.
And plus you abuse out some of the listeners as well. They say that you abuse them out, but I get
a lot of their supporters I abuse out.
So you were
a lot of people like, John, why is it you doing this thing? And when I tell people my story, people I know it have to get some reason behind it, say why you're doing what you're doing. As I know it is very strange for Afro person to just come up and they're supporting and glorifying these people so much. I'm giving you all into this thing here. And when I tell people, I say, listen, these people is so right, if I do, I'm gonna lose my job, I'm gonna be in the same position why they need me pass. Look at me pass. Look at me like today, I can't leave the country. They're holding me hostage here in Guyana. Now let me move on, John.
So before you move on, as you reflect back on all this cussing out, you cuss out Granger, you cuss out Harmon, you cuss out Vala Lawrence, you just cuss out, right?
Yeah.
All because you wanted to save your job. And now the very people that you're cussing out, you're cussing out on behalf of, just didn't give a rat's, you know what, about you. They are doing everything to discriminate against you.
All they cared about was that me going on Facebook as an Afro-Guyanese doctor, big enough and glorifying the government. That's all they cared about.
So that was all they. That was all they're concerned about to ensure that. Good.
They did not care about my interest to ensure that I get my full license, my full registration.
Okay, but meanwhile, you were, according to you, cussing out everybody. On behalf, cussing out.
Yes.
Yeah. So you cuss everybody in order to save your job and to get your license. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
When I knew to myself the license part, maybe I would not have gotten it, but I just wanted to complete the 5-year contract and to get my passport clear to go my way. Because soon as when they went in power, you check it in September, I run off and start doing my master's in business administration, my MBA.
Yeah,
because I knew to myself that to practice medicine here with them now in power and with the old issue that how I marched them before the former minister of health and tell she how the racial and altic, it would have been a no for me. The former chief medical officer don't tell me I would never get it. Guess what he do? He tell you new chief medical officer what they right there. Don't ever make I get my full registration.
All right. Let's take a pin. Let me tell
you now.
One second. We need to take our time with this. We have the world of time. Let me just take a sip of water because we got to get to the bottom of this situation, as you have painted it as racial discrimination by the installed PPP.
Yes, yeah.
Now, after all the costs, and so forth, in order to save your job, to get your license, that is not the case. They forced you now to go and get a second job to become a security guard in the night. And nothing is wrong with being a
Yeah.
security guard and so forth. Do you think when you sit down and as you reflect that as a professional, in order to get things done, that you have to, and not just you, anybody will have to stoop to that level to satisfy operatives of any government, that in order to
Yeah.
get what so rightfully belongs to you as a professional, you got to join them, you got to hug them up, you got to put mal on them, you got to cuss up, you got to go on, you got to every single thing. And at the end, here is where you are. Do you think it was worth
Yeah.
it?
Hello?
Do you think it was worth it? Costing out was worth it?
I told everybody, except for me, it saved me that I wasn't fired since 2020. Because if I was taken off of my job since 2020, it would have been harder for me to fight them based on the fact that they would have told me that I owe them 1 year more of my contract. Now they're claiming that I owe them 2 months only. So it's better to fight at 2 months than a year. You understand me? No. I'm gonna tell you how it lead up to me going to do Garo. They forced me into that. Racism too. Let me tell you now, January to go every year you gotta renew your license. January 2021, when I went up at medical council board to renew my license to start work, that was last year. They tell me, hold on, 2 hours I stood at medical council board before how much phone call could have made, before they could have approved to give me back an institutional license. Remember, they never gave me the full license. They had me an institutional license. You understand me? And after 3 years, you're not supposed to be issued back an institutional. But guess what? I was issued institutional license 6 times for 6 years. And that should have never happened. Never ever happened. And what I want viewers to know is that the chief medical officer in 2018, when he did their flouncing up himself and tell minister why they before the medical council board for disciplinary committee, it had an Indo-Guyanese, one of my batchmates, one of my colleagues, who went to him with an empty booklet because nobody from GPAT did not want to sign out that doctor booklet, Mr. Mark. And guess what? The same chief medical officer make sure it call a Georgetown hospital to the secretary, Miss Sam Lal, the secretary for the director of professional service, and tell she ensure she go around with Dr. So-and-so booklet and make sure the booklet sign up so that he could get his full registration. You know what I'm telling you?
All right. I got you.
That
So
is something unethical because nobody didn't want to sign up his booklet for him. But EDCMO make sure that the booklet was signed up so that he could have gotten his full registration. And it is so sad that he robbed and cheated me out of my booklet all because I'm an Afro-Guyanese doctor. Huh? Now moving on, they gave me the registration in 2021. I done working good, I continue glorifying them. May month, April month, I received a letter from the permanent secretary of Ministry of Health last year, 2021. Oh, you know what, Dr. Solomon? You missing from work so much days, and you got and we got deducted salary 5,000 every month for 5 months. And imagine I'm on a board at the point in time, and I write back to him. I say I never missing from work. Where evidence there? I said currently I am studying and I cannot afford for the deduction to happen now and wherever. Well, guess what? They make it that deducting me money. I have to run and do guard work in the night.
all right, stick up in there for a moment. And I appreciate you telling your story indeed. But describe what it's like being for about 3 or 4 or 5 months you worked as a guard in the night.
Yeah.
I want you to please describe the guard duties. Describe what it was like for you being a guard.
It was hard. It was so hard. It was 7 in the evening to 7 in the morning. You hear what I'm telling you? I had to force it to that because you know why? If I had a full registration, if I had a full license or the full registration, if you want to call it, in the way I could have able to do some extra shift at the private clinic or at the private hospital instead of doing the security guard work. I had no other option, no other choice. You hear what I'm telling you? I went and I did the job. I went to the people at the security, and they say, you know what? Okay, we're going to take you in. We understand your situation. And remember, at the point in time, the company was losing a lot of contracts too, but they still tried their best to fit me in. You understand me? And they fit me in. I had employment. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. At a point in time, I was also studying for my MBA, my master's. They ensured that I got at a nice location that had good lighting and stuff like that. My vehicle, I got pack up my laptop all night, and then on the internet researching and making sure I finish my assessment, all my assignments and so for my MBA all night. I used to drink a lot of these. It's not nice to talk about. This energy drink, the Excel, enough coffee and so to keep me up. Next morning, guess what? When I come off, I gotta come home, wash up all my baby bottle them for the entire night. My mom had to sacrifice or time, give up our life for a period of time as well to look my baby. You understand me? I'm gonna come home, wash up the baby bottle, prepare him, drop him off to school, and then I'm gonna head way to the hospital, get over West them. Afternoon, I work there all day.
All right.
Afternoon,
So
I come back home.
thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that you found it very easy to some extent at that guard agency where you were still allowed to do
I'm
your work.
grateful to them for
Right.
giving me employment. If they did not give me employment, you know what is that? Oh my God, remember I had to pay for the masters as well.
Yeah. So have you finished the masters? You're done with that?
Yes, I finished the masters, and I collect my certificate last year, October. This year, January, I sent it to Ministry of Health, and inform them of my new qualification. Don't worry, they tear it out of my personal file. They tore it out.
Yeah.
Therefore,
So
what I just
again, all I just need to get clear, for me, the cussing out and so forth is irrelevant. The fact that you're being discriminated, according to you, racially discriminated by the installed PPP regime. You knew this from the inception that once they get into office, by questionable circumstances, that they will be going after people like you. And so in order for them not to go after you personally, you took a personal decision that you're going to impress upon them. So you start abuse out, cuss out, lash down, pick up, slam down every and anybody that was connected to the coalition. You're admitting to that.
Yes.
What specific message you have now that the PPP, obviously as vindictive as they are, they're not coming to your rescue. They're not signing off on whatever they need to sign off. They have forced you to become a security guard at night. You think the cussing out of coalition people was worth it? The energy?
For me, I would say no. It did not in the end, because at the end of the day, my plan, what I was working, as I say, to just course out to save my job. I had wanted to complete my contract, get my release letter, and be out of Guyana. And it never happened, It never happened. But as I say, if I did not do it, they would have took me off since 2020. The same one from health, because he was on the medical council board. And he knew exactly what was going on with me. You understand me? So I was a number one hit for them. But I remember I became friends with people in the party, so it was hard for him to do that. They came up with their own plan and strategy to ensure that it destroyed my life as an Afro-Guyanese doctor, because it transferred me from West Dem Hospital to go to Georgetown Hospital, right? And guess what they did? They did that in September month, just 2 months before my contract up, because they know it would have up in October. And guess what? They never yet gave me the placement letter to go to Georgetown Hospital to work.
All right. All right, Doc. I want.
Orders. One of them same government MP from Ministry of Health.
Doc, I got your message. I understand exactly, because there are scores of persons who are in the same position as you are, because they're fighting and they want to keep their positions and all manner of things. So they put up things on social media to make it appear, because these Looney Tunes in the PPP
let me tell you. Let me take this from you. See, all of them, all of them who start being, and let me tell you something, this current government, they have started their own campaign to recruit Afro-Guyanese people to be political, to be social media political activists for them. You hear what I'm telling you?
Well, that is nothing. That
So
is that is that is doc doc
it could boost the
doc
government's image of not being, the way how they are a racist government.
doc. That
So
is
they're
nothing.
using
That is nothing new. They've always been doing it. But if you say that they've intensified that operations now, we're at
they have intensified it.
we're at office of the president. They pay a lot of individuals, persons of African descent, with these names to come up on social media and attack individuals. They're getting paid 40, 50, 60, 70, some $80,000 a month at office of the
Yeah,
president.
it's
They do that.
ridiculous.
So I agree with you. And so the cussing out didn't worth it. You got a lot of enemies. You thought that the PVP were going to like you for that, and that they were going to ensure that your license
No, no,
was
no, no, no.
okay.
Listen to this. As I tell
Please.
you,
Yeah.
I was never naive all along. Because you know why? In September 2021, when I wrote Minister Frank Anthony 2 letters to intervene on my behalf, he never even looked at them letters. And that is when I realized, I said, don't worry, all along, I knew to myself, this man hates Afro-Guyanese people.
So it was then that your eyes opened after he didn't respond to you. That's when your eyes said,
Well,
boom.
since he all has stepped with the permanent secretary
Okay.
that wanted to beat up my salary since then,
Okay.
you know?
I got
And
you.
then here what happened in September now, when I was to get the placement letter to go to Georgetown Hospital, guess what? The Director General of Ministry of Health, the racist man, he never worked Ministry of Health. He don't know nothing about me. But as I tell you, they all pre-plotted and planned for me. I was on the radar all along since before when.
Good.
He told the other doctor, he said, do not give Dr. Solomon her placement letter. We no longer want her to work in the system.
All right, Dr. Solomon.
His exact words.
Yeah, Dr. Solomon, I understand the medical council, how it operates. The head of the medical council is very political, very pro PPP, and all manner of things. The medical council, in my opinion, they have discriminated against a lot of doctors, mainly doctors of African descent. The head of the medical council and all manner of things.
Only doctors of African descent, not mainly. Let me just use the term only, because the other rest of them, you remember having case with these couple doctors that would have gotten these children at GPHC hospital when they killed the 3 children. You know, those doctors are still working a day like today, practicing.
I got you. So the medical council, we have seen the medical council, the head of the medical council has issued statements during the pandemic period, and he's not an expert in those areas and so forth. Every single thing the government or the install regime says or they do, this medical council head, he just rushes up to suck up to them in the PPP regime. A lot of folks, a lot of medical experts are of the view that the head of the medical council there in Guyana is incompetent. I don't know, but that is what they are saying. Now, I could understand what you are going through, all right? But what I can't understand is that as professionals in Guyana, people have to basically sell themselves. And this is not to disrespect you at all, right? Cost out in order to keep a job or to get your license. There are people in lots of agencies.
And that's why the chairman, the chief medical officer for Guyana, remember now to get chief medical officer, you're supposed to get background of public health.
Sure.
And he doesn't even have a background of public health. That position was supposed to give it to Dr. Karen Boyles. But I knew that they would have never given to her. She's Afro-Guyanese woman. Chief medical officer hate Afro-Guyanese woman, and they themselves hate. So there's no way that they would have put her there.
So I like
she was the most qualified person.
I like the.
That was her position. Look who they gave it to.
Thank you. I like the fact that you mentioned Dr. Boyle. Very qualified, by far more than maybe all of them there, but they didn't give that position to her. I know that, and you knew.
Her out of that position, but I love the fact that she didn't say a word. She walked away with her head high, because you know why? At the end of the day, you know what? They cannot take away our qualifications from
Fair
us. Sure,
enough.
right? That's Mr. Mark.
I got you, and I support you on that 100%. And I also
And that is what I told Dr. Frank in a letter. I said, Dr. Frank, you see how we are doing to me? I already got a DR in front of me, maybe I can't on that to me. I say, see, you see my master's and my medical certificate. I say, I can't take with none of
and you know what, Dr. Solomon, you are a real doctor. You worked hard for that title. Nobody wrote
Yes,
anything, your exams for you, and these manner of things. You went to real universities as well. So, you know,
exactly. I went to real university that established and they're internationally accredited as
yeah.
well.
So you didn't go to any fake university out in some village or something like that. But before we go, though, you know, I understand your situation. I feel your pain because there are lots of other people, professionals out there who are afraid to speak out, who are afraid to offer a political view other than the PPP. And so some people are of the view that in order to get what they want or to keep their jobs, that they have to make these posts and praise the PPP and all manner of things, especially people looking like you. And you have admitted that that is exactly what you have done.
Listen, and I would advise them, you know what? Do not do it. Do not
Good.
join this current government social media political activism where they're recruiting Afro-Guyanese doctors to be political activists for them.
All right.
Because when you go up there and you be glorifying them, this is what they want, so that they could trick and fool the regional leaders and international leaders.
Well, I do.
And for me, just keep your mouth shut and do not, my word, do not join, do not be a political activism for them. At time I remember I posted something negative about the government, something negative they do. Somebody inbox me, what you cannot do that. You gotta push the president's initiative and what he's doing. You cannot post something. Yes.
Yeah, I recall.
This is what they want. They want you as an actor. You gotta whatever style project or whatever they're doing. You gotta push their initiative on Facebook to make them look good at the end of the day.
Right.
Really and truly, they do not care about your personal life. They don't care about your financial life. They don't care about the academic. They don't care about the academic life. They don't care about your family. They don't care. They do not care. And trust me, a lot of Afro-Guyanese people think to themselves, oh, you know what? Don't worry, they said they get business opportunity. I said good luck with that same business opportunity where they keep the dream they keep selling to y'all.
So let me just.
Nothing to offer y'all. Nothing to offer y'all. Don't worry, you know what they're gonna give y'all one contract or two contracts to keep y'all below them. You can never be financially successful under them. Never.
Doc, I understand your pain, your frustration. I can only imagine what you are going through at this time. This photograph here that I'm showing, I know you can't see it, but you have your passport in your hands. This is to show that you cannot leave the country. And this goes for all, one second, please. This goes for all recipients of government scholarships. They are not allowed to leave the country unless they have some waiver, or if they have to leave the country, they have to go to the office of the president or the Ministry of Public Service for them to get clear, for them to get a clearance. As of now, you want to pursue, further your education and so forth, and you're being denied that opportunity. Explain how you feel, please.
You know, it is very sad at this point in time, right? That the government, they do not want me to work any longer. I said, okay, you want me for work? That's okay. Just give me a release letter so that I could get a stamp out of my passport, take it to the immigration as well, so they clear my name at the airport so that I can leave the country. You understand me? You don't want my work? That's okay with me. You understand me? You don't want to give me my full registration? That is okay as well. You understand where I'm coming from? They say you owe us 2 months of work from your contract. Let me tell you something. I don't mind working, but in 2 months, I'm going to work it for free. You understand me? Guess what? They don't want me to work it 2 months for free so that I could get a release letter. No, they do not want to give me the release letter. Now, this is a hostage situation. And they say plain black is me being on a plantation and the slave masters there, because I'm Afro-Guyanese, the slave masters them want to keep me on the plantation to force me to do all kind of white collar jobs. You understand me? And to remain here in Guyana as a slave under the government. And I say to them, slavery was abolished how much years now? This is a modern day we're living in. It's just 2 months and I'm willing to work that 2 months and they are not my slave masters. And I'm no slave under their government. And at the end of the day, even if I chose to abuse out their government, I know why they're vexed with me because last year I said that they're having a bunch of uneducated government ministers. They vexed with me. That is true. How much of their minister ever went aboard the Midnight Island and get degree to their name, eh? But all of a sudden they turn government minister. Guess what? You know what? Y'all in government do y'all want. My thing is, I have my qualification, my education. I want to leave the country. I want to leave this country. You understand me? And go somewhere else where I can get to work and I can get to further my study as a young doctor.
But let me.
What exactly is keeping me back here in Guyana for? To do what?
Let me.
To do what exactly?
Yeah, I got you. We got you. And let me say to our listeners that this is what the doctor just said in terms of being held hostage in Guyana. There are hundreds of, or probably thousands of other young people who are being held hostage. They have no jobs because the PPP, they're not concerned about giving young people jobs, especially if you are African Guyanese or you are connected to the other political parties, mainly the coalition. So once you're affiliated with a coalition, there's no jobs, there's nothing for you at all. And in that passport, they keep you hostage in the country, even though that they have nothing for you to do. And mind you,
I have been held hostage and against my will. I wrote letters even to the president and the vice president, and they're refusing at all costs to give me my release letter so that I can leave this country.
All right. Before
they play politics.
Yeah.
They play politics. Oh, I have to wait before the same racial director general of Ministry of Health, the same racial MP would have sitting down their apartment before they could find a place to put me to work. How much months did that wait before we can do that? Eh? How much months? Eh? I keep saying, I say, listen, put me anywhere. Listen, I don't even have to work as a doctor. Even just put me, let me work in 2 months, get a release set, and I finish. Now they're keeping me hostage here and there against my will. And I keep telling people, all because I'm an Afro-Guyanese. They say it's like a slave, but they are the slave masters, but they're keeping me an Afro-Guyanese like a slave. And slavery has been abolished. I am no slave for this government. I need my freedom. My ancestors had to fight for their freedom after the plantation. Now I too gotta come and fight for my freedom as a young Afro-Guyanese doctor. I didn't realize that now I made that this country now is a plantation and I have to fight for my freedom to get out of this, get out the plantation. Just give me my release letter and let me go my way. They still with this craziness, wanting to victim. I do not know where they think they're gonna end up with this in the end.
I know you're.
Had I been an Indo-Guyanese doctor, this would not have happened to me. And I don't care who vexed with me. This is me talking the truth.
I understand.
Had I been an Indo-Guyanese doctor, the Minister of Health and all the other rest of them down there, they would not have done this to me. The president and even the vice president would have intervened on that person's behalf and let them get a release letter. And I could tell anybody under the government, there was an Indo-Guyanese doctor who did the short contract over the year. And guess what? Former Minister, Health Minister, Lawrence, and all them gave that doctor the opportunity to go back and work so he could have gotten his release letter.
All right, so
never victimize him.
Absolutely, I understand.
No, this government victimizing me all because I'm Afro. It's because it's a race thing. It's a race thing. I don't look like them. My hair texture different from them. They don't care about me. For the past 3 months, they illegally blocked my salary. I wrote basically a tell the president how much letters I sent to them. I said, man, you know, food, you think they care? I said, I'm having a nervous breakdown. I said, guess what? They don't care because I'm Afro. I am an Afro woman, an Afro-Guyanese woman, and my child, a little Afro-Guyanese child. They do not care. Because you know why? I know that I will serve their purpose of being the social media Afro-Guyanese on social media for big up their government. I'm no longer of that use for them.
All right, so I got you, and I understand exactly what you're saying in terms of the racial discrimination, the discrimination because of political affiliation and so forth. These things are rampant under the
And
PPP
yeah, yes, it
regime.
is. And
It
I am
is
not the only
rampant.
Afro-Guyanese that who's currently being victimized by these people. There are dozens of others.
All right, so we're
A
looking at
lot
it.
of them, you know what happened? Some of them, they're just resigning. Like the ones who finish their contract, they're resigning and going their way. And a lot of them, whoever have contract leave back, they're just waiting for the time done to go their way. Some of them who in the system, they're just finding ways not for them start writing whatever exam they could so that they could leave, run out to Guyana. And I keep telling people, Guyana medical fraternity is a racist one. It's not none for Afro-Guyanese. Look at all of the doctors in this country who are specialized. Look at them. They're of one race. They are of one race. We do not have a lot of Afro-Guyanese doctors in Guyana who are specialized. And you know why? Because we are being far down. At every single step of the way, we are being far down and spite and victimized. And it's by one set of people doing this dirty work. One set of people. And it's one gender.
Okay.
And nobody not say nothing to them, and it is so sad, so sad. And I tell people, I say, listen, I do not have time to stay in Guyana any longer to fight no race war with and fight no race battle with them. They don't do what I have to do to me and destroy my life. God be with them. You understand me? I am walking away. All I just want is to get my release, to let me go my way. I am not their slave. So all because I'm Afro-Guyanese woman, and you're a slave, now they want to keep me here in Guyana, force me now to go do some sort of white-collar job, Take away my little employment from me, and I'm a public servant, that's what you're doing. All because the person, the Afro-Guyanese person, taking away employment to cripple you financially. So that guess what? So that you could start you could start hungry and starving. So you gotta go now and beg them for hamper. I'm gonna give you the hamper or whatever a handout that they want to give to you. You gotta take out a picture with them and then make a post. Progress. The government gave me hamper. This is a caring government. After they're the ones who would have put you in that situation to have to put you in a situation. Let me say like a charity case. They're the one who made the charity case so that there is ample. And now they want to turn around and glorify them. The nasty politics behind it. Because somebody said, why don't want human service and get ample? Why are they staying high one day position? After they don't take with me employment, I must go now for beg for ample. You believe that, Mr. Mark? I'm a young woman, I can work for myself. Why must I gotta go begging for hamper? You know what, go beg for hamper, so I'm going to know to take out 2 pictures the minister and put up. Minister give me hamper, the government go to Karen. I will not be doing that. Trust me, I will not.
I understand how you feel, and I know that is why I sit back and have you vent, because this is hitting a lot of people, especially those people that the installed PPP regime are going into certain communities like in Region 10, Linden, and these other areas.
Oh, boy.
What message do you have? When they took
me off of the board and they sent a hamper to me Christmas, then I sent back the hamper to them. I sent back their hamper.
I got just a message here. Good, and we agree with you on that, hamper, because they only believe that, and I agree with some of our viewers here. And this is no mockery of you. I understand how you feel, your pain, your frustrations. There are thousands of people who are feeling the same way you're feeling. Those who look like you, those who are affiliated to a political party different than the PPP, and these persons can be of Indian extraction or Portuguese or Chinese. As long as you don't support the PPP, they are going to do all manner of things to you, and that is exactly what the PPP is about. We see what they're doing to the people in Linden, going in there with a little hamper. They're there, and then when they're done with their hamper, they're bulldozing people's properties down, mashing up people's farms, all manner of things that they're doing. So what is the next move for you right now?
Well, I wrote letters and I sent it to the United Nations General Secretary there in Manhattan. I also wrote to the because this is human rights violation, right? The United Nations clearly state that no government should prevent none of their citizens, prevent them from take away their liberty from traveling to another country. This is exactly what the government of Guyana is doing to me.
So you wrote to Prime Minister Motley. Did you get a reply from her?
That when I wrote to Prime Minister Mia Motley, that is when I asked her to assist me with fees to pay my current tuition fee at University Western because I'm currently studying there. International relations.
Okay, so you wanted a scholar. You wanted.
I'm studying there. That is why they stopped my salary because they know that I have outstanding fees.
Okay,
well.
so as a frustrated mother, as a frustrated person, you're not getting the backing from your own supposed government, so you reached out to Maya Motley for help. All right, fair enough. I can't.
Listen,
yeah, sure.
I tell people, I said I did not wrong. You know why, Mark? I'm a CARICOM national, and my passport stated that. And I simply reach out to another CARICOM head of government and I ask for support.
All right. I'm not.
I asked my own government. The government of Guyana refused. You know what I'm telling you? The public service minister wrote me a letter. Oh, they're having unavailability of scholarship. I said, oh, that's the new name, unavailability of scholarship now.
Yeah, or come back home, like in a more personal level that. And I would have posted it on social media that my son has been accepted into several top universities in the world, including Oxford. And this installed PPP regime is saying, no, you can't go to do a master's. You got to go back home. Go back home.
Go back home to do what? Go back home to do what?
These guys. I'm sure if it was. I am sure if it was one of the PPP folks, them and their family members or the minister's kid and so on, they would not have even taken that position at all. But sometimes we've got to stand up for what's right, and cuss the real oppressors them out. Cuss them out. But before we go, you seem to have, before I get to that, I got some information that even some doctors out at Borbice, they're saying that they have not been paid since November. And they have been, she has been waiting for her release letter. And here it is, I'm saying this release letter. The government or the regime hold people at hostage with these sort of things, that if you don't do what they want, if you don't suck up to them, they're not going to release you from the plantation. So they want people to be their slaves.
That is what I'm telling people. And listen, this is something important. What one guy needs to know. Yes, Guyana have oil. And let me tell y'all something. Economic growth is not equal to poverty reduction. And not because your country GDP is going to go up if it's 100% or how much percent means that you as a poor class citizen, that your life will be improved and you're going to be living a better life. No. And all of this infrastructural development you see with all of these roads building and everybody progress. Road building has nothing to do with it because guess why? The government do not have no startup poverty reduction strategy. You understand me?
Of course I understand.
No, how much of our population, let me just say 90% of our population is what? Poor class citizens. They don't have no strategy to lift us out of this poverty what we are in. And I tell people the same thing because I'm a doctor. Guess what? They just pay us $237,000 a month take home after tax. That is $1,200 as medical doctors in
Wow.
People of the opinion, oh my God, no, yeah, let's get more than that. I said, no, I can show you my pay slip. That is our salary. I said, guess what? You have to do on-call, which is overtime. You go there on a Saturday morning, you come back till Sunday morning at your home for $4,900.
And you know,
for 24 hours as a medical doctor here in Guyana. Tell me, isn't this a modern day plantation gone?
and the thing is, you guys are getting less, doing more work, but getting less than our parliamentarians across the board. They get 250,000, all sort of concessions, and you know, good afternoon to the parliamentarians who are making a heck of a lot of money, and a lot of them seem to be sleeping on the job.
And I tell people, I say, listen, I just want to move on with my life and go my way.
Before we go, I look back at the message, several messages you sent me since back in 2020. But I'm not in the habit of sharing. I said, let me check with you on Facebook to see who you are. And as I got into my messages, I said, wait a minute, you actually messaged me since 2020? I'd like to apologize for not responding to you since back then. But do you permit?
I knew what would have happened.
Do you permit me to read this private message you sent me?
What is it about?
I know, because it's private, and if you don't want me to read it, I would not.
No, you can.
So basically, it's one of the messages you sent me since back in March 2020, and you said here, I quote, I would be very disappointed in Granger if he allows PPP to go back in power. And if you all know what Barajak they are planning to do when they go back there to Black people, you will run. That is what you said back in 2020, amongst other stuff, but I just read that particular part. You knew of this plan, what they were going to do, according to what you say here, and we're seeing the evidence of what they are going to do to African Guyanese. And some people may ask, then you knew all of this, but you cuss down Harry right to Harry wrong and cuss out. We understand. You explain why you did that. But at this point in time, scores of them are listening to you right now, and they would love to hear you say something nice to them, maybe to apologize if you want to, for the cussing out and the abusing out and the bragging down and the lash down.
I said to myself, I hope one day that, perhaps I could get to meet, because I know I said some real terrible thing about farmer PhD leader, Mr. Harmon, even about Mr. Harvey North, and I said some horrible things about
not only about them, or I've seen some people.
And their supporters as well.
What do you have to? What do you have to say directly to everyone that you cuss out?
My deepest apologies. And whatever I said, it never came from my heart, and I did what I had to do to save my job. And to try to free myself from this bondage, what I mean. I did what I had to do. At the end of the day, what I want them to know at this point in time, there are a lot of Afro-Guyanese people you might see persons there on Facebook, might cuss you down. Look at them, they're public servants. Most of them, they're just doing those things to save their job as well. Some of them, they have business, and they depend on government contract. And guess what? They might as well cuss out to save their business. If they don't do that, they're going to end up just like me. Right now, I'm sitting down here, my pack empty. My cupboard with grocery, it's empty, Mr. Mar.
That seems.
Because guess what? The government can care that my belly right now don't have food.
That seems to be the description of most Guyanese. Pot empty, nothing to do, no jobs, no nothing. But you guys are, but they're sitting, and the PPP install regime, they're just waiting for another round of hampers so that they could take photographs. That's what.
I lost weight, Mr. Mark, for the past 3 months. I was hungry in this country, starving many days, nothing to eat. I don't have food to eat under this government. They're starving me as an Afro-Guyanese, and I'm ashamed to say that. This same government, they're starving me as an Afro
What message? We know the PPP installed regime discriminate against people who are not affiliated to their party. But more so, they discriminate racially, of course, and economically and otherwise against African Guyanese. For the most part, that's what they do. What message do you have for those who are afraid to speak out or feel that they are forced to say nice things about this installed PPP regime when deep down in their heart, that's not what they want to say? What message do you have for them?
Them, as I said, my advice: do not be a social media political activist for them. Boycott that part of it. Stay in your corner, shut your mouth, and let them find their own people to do that aspect of things to them. And come 2025, it should be all hands on deck. You hear what I'm telling you? Because the last election, a lot of people did not go out and vote. You need to move from this nonsensical thing, but I don't have to vote because when the government going forward, they wouldn't do nothing for you. Let me tell you something. Voting means voting is your right. And not only that, if you don't go out and vote, guess what? It could mean that next couple months down the lane, if the wrong government going there, guess what? Your son could be murdered because of his race. Your son could lose his job, or your daughter could lose their job because the wrong people is there in government. So go out and vote. Go out and vote. And I keep saying, I do hope that there is a good plan in place. I do hope that there is a good plan in place because this is a real plantation. And it's not only for us Afro, it's for other poor class people. They do not care about poor class people. They do not care about poor. Once you are poor, you have no value in their eyesight. The only value you have is for them to take out photos with you with whatever hamper they're bringing for you or whatever farmer handout they're bringing to give you. And I keep saying there's not free government. Leave it to the private sector people. Let the private sector people come and give out and share out whatever they have to give out. You as a government, you should not be involved in those things. You gotta put a picture with some poor person and give them answer. It's so unethical. It is unethical. I don't care what nobody say. It is unethical.
All right, Dr. Solomon, I thank you so much for being on this morning to share your story with us, to explain exactly what transpired, why you did what you did. Your message, I know there are lots of folks who are listening to your message. Some of them are in the same boat. They're forced to do things that they don't want to do, all because they either want to keep their jobs and these things. Some of them are not strong enough to say to hell with the PPP. Nothing, but it's easy for some of us to say to hell with the PPP, but it's not that easy for some folks to say it because their bread and butter is important to take care of their families. So I understand to some extent what you went through, and I wish you all the best. And I'm glad that you are telling the people that this is not a regime of the people. This is a regime that is anti-African Guyanese. They're anti-democracy. They're anti what is right. And I say anti-democracy because even if you're not African Guyanese and you don't support them, they will still go after and victimize you as well. But their main target seem to be persons of African descent. I wish you all the best, and I hope sometime this afternoon, you will get something in your pot to cook something for your family. Right?
Oh, yes.
Our prayers.
But I don't hope that all of this be over. I just want to go, that I travel and go somewhere else and work. I have a little son. My child need a bright future. No, this government do not have no future for him. None. Absolutely none. And I would not buy into their fake dream and fantasy what they're selling.
All right. So what I will do, whatever little that I can do to ensure that you get something in your pot to cook for your child and yourself, I will try my best to get that done for you. All right. And
a lot of persons who are talking about going and getting an attorney at law. I said, this government getting lie and taking them to court, we all know what will happen.
All right. So we shouldn't be living in a country where there's not much optimism, but I thank you so much. Prayers are out for you and your family. People do make errors, mistakes are to be made. Some do it out of frustration and all manner of things. So I'm not going to sit here and judge you at all. But one of the things that I'm glad that I was not part of the cussing crew, right? You never cussed me out. I'm glad that you.
Oh,
Or,
maybe I don't.
or did you?
I knew
Or
what they
or
did to you. I knew what they did to you, and I
oh,
hear the horrible thing they put your child through. That's horrible. Like
yeah, yeah,
I cannot, and it's
yeah,
so sad that look what happened 2020. It's like,
yeah. I
anyway,
know.
gonna say,
Yeah. Thank you so much, though,
you've
for
been hopeful. Yes, thank you
thank
very much,
thank
and
you
for
so
allowing me
much.
the opportunity to, talk about my story
Yeah.
live so that I could bring awareness. And to other Afro-Guyanese, I know that there are a lot of Afro-Guyanese there on the PVP government. They might want to bash me and come out full swing, and want to attack me, with my current issue with the government. My advice to them, you know what to do? Don't even sound your voice. Boycott it. Let them go and find their own people that are looking like them to come and bash me. Because guess what? They're going to look for Afro-Guyanese just like myself to try to spin the narrative and try to kill the story. Try to tell the whole story that they're a racist government. And that's true. I don't care what nobody says. After if I said had I been an Indo-Guyanese doctor, I would have not been in this position. You understand me? And there's the truth.
All right,
That is
I
the
got you.
truth.
I got you. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for taking time out to be with
Thank you
us
very much.
and enjoy.
Please, you see, I will
Yeah.
update you. Anything I'll update you. I'll
Thank
send you a
you.
message.
And as you update me, I will update our listeners as well. But I appreciate your
Okay.
time for telling your story and letting us know
Yeah.
exactly how you
And
feel. Yeah.
one last thing,
Sure.
shout out to Village Boys. You guys are doing a great job. Guyanese, please, on Sundays, please pick up your copy of the Village Boys.
Wait,
Please
wait,
support
wait,
the
wait, wait,
Village
wait, wait,
Boys.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Let's put it so that you can advertise Village. Well, kudos to Village Voice for this story. Like I've
Yes.
said, there isn't any other newspaper that would have been, carrying your story as Village Voice. So go ahead. Let's hear the ad again for Village Voice.
So, congratulations, big up to Village Voice newspaper, and to all Guyanese, please pick up your Village Voice newspaper every single Sunday. Please pick up your copy. It is only $200. Please support Village Voice newspaper on a Sunday. Just go down to the closest vendor, buy your Village Voice newspaper. And I love the fact that they did not try to take out nothing from the story. They put every single thing what I told them. Everything is just right there.
Absolutely.
Everything is right there.
Yeah, thank you. Village Voice is
newspaper, Village Voice.
Village Voice is gonna love that, and we appreciate
Yes,
you
and
coming.
thanks to the editor and the journalist who did the story. For me,
Yeah.
a very big thank you to you guys. Village Voice, all the way.
All right, thank you so much for coming on with us and sharing your story. And again, our prayers, and we will continue to follow your story. We will continue to pray for you and your family, and we will do so
Thank you
peace.
so
We will
much.
we
Thank
will we
thank
will
you
do
so
so
much.
peacefully. We are not going to. Can you give me, just pretend I'm next to you and just give me a warm hug that there's no longer any cussing out. There's nothing, because we understand who
No,
the
there's
real
nothing,
enemy
and it was
is.
nothing
Yeah,
personal. Trust
yeah.
me, it was nothing personal. I even cuss out MP Valda Lawrence, and trust me, she's a woman just like me. And when I did it, it was horrible for me to do it, and I'm really and truly sorry. She's a strong woman, and I've seen her to put a woman through court and do all things for that woman.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when she was our Minister of Health, that woman did all what she had to do in her power to make us comfortable. I will not lie.
All
I
right.
will not lie.
Thank you so
Okay?
much. Thank you so much for your
Yes.
time.
Thank you very much.
And we live in peace. And as we do live in the peace, we understand the common enemy. The enemy is the PPP to the people of Guyana. The enemy is the PPP to democracy. They do not believe in democracy. They do not
That
believe
is
in
it,
peace.
because what they're doing is unconstitutional, what they're doing to me. They're not respecting the rule of law.
Sure, they're not.
And then they were the ones fighting for rule of law back in 2020. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Wow.
We all can't believe it at all. Thank you so much for your time, though, Doc. I appreciate it. And I
Thank you very
salute
much.
your strength, because not too many people will want to go and become a security guard in the night, they'll feel like, what the hell, I'm a doctor, I have enough pride.
No, you
No,
can't
you
have
don't.
pride. Like
You
I
don't.
said, you can't have pride. You gotta do. Remember, you gotta do. You have to do. You have to do. And I want to
Exactly.
study, and I have to do what I have to do.
And thank you
Thank
for
God I get my MBA. Yeah.
thank you for doing what you did. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Doc. Yep. All right. Hope you guys are satisfied. Those of you who are saying that you got into some good cussing out and so forth. Somebody's saying she should become a politician. Of course, she should become a politician. She looks the type of politician. This is the type of MP that I would want, right? An MP that will go out there and be fiery and get the job done. I wouldn't mind she becoming an MP. Go out and work. She wasn't afraid to tell her story either. She wasn't afraid to accept that, look, she has done a wrong. She cussed out people. This is the reason why I was cussing out. She explained all of that. And I want you to dissect exactly what she said, because there's scores of other persons like this doctor who was forced to become a security guard in the night. She's a doctor, so I want to put up a better photo of her. Some of us mouth hot, yeah, use out, cuss out. Who doesn't do that? So let us not come and pretend as though, she's the only cuss out woman they got out there and abuse out woman. Every day, Jack, they abuse out. Every day, Irfan Ali abuse out. And they could abuse. They could really abuse, right? Every day they do that. So let us not crucify her because she felt that her back was against the wall. I'm not justifying that. I wouldn't do it. Maybe because I'm strong enough not to do it. Some of you wouldn't do it either. But there are lots of people like her who are pretending that they like the PPP. You may run into some people and say, hey, why you went to a meeting with Jack Day or Irfan? Me get time with them people that I just want to collect me little hamper, or I just want to collect me little contract, and I all right. But me is not up. They say that they don't like the PPP, right? And there are lots of people who are forced to survive because of that. They're forced to do that. Look at what Trevor Ben is going through at the Guyana Public Service Credit Union. Those individuals who are fighting against Trevor Ben, a man who has done an excellent job as chairman of the credit union there, ensure that the members are satisfied and looked after. Those folks who are going after Trevor, they're not going after Trevor because they really hate Trevor. They're going after Trevor because they want to satisfy the masters of the PPP, to make the PPP feel that they're going after this guy who was part of the coalition government and so forth and did a darn good job at the lands and surveys when he was there as the CEO. That's their reason. So we've got to be careful of these kind of individuals, right? We must try to dissect, get deep down and try to understand why they do what they do. This doctor explained to us. It gives us now a bigger and a better understanding the mindset of these individuals. She done cuss now. She done cuss. She's peaceful. She wants to get out of her. She wants to be released from the plantation, and that is what the PPP regime does. They hold you hostage, right? Or hostage. In fact, if you're not part of them, they're going to hold you hostage. But they're friends and families and cronies who get all manner of scholarships, even though they're not satisfied. They get one scholarship, they get two scholarships, they get three scholarships, and none of them are asked to go back to Guyana to do anything, nothing at all. There are thousands of them under the PPP regime for the 23 years, and now for the 2+ years in office, it continues. And then the brightest of all, they want to discriminate against. And those who don't look like them, that are part of the PPP regime, they discriminate against. It's time that we all stand up. It's time that we all be strong. It's time that we all stop cussing each other, because it seems as though we are good at that. We cuss out each other. Our energy is utilized in that particular area. So every day there's a cussing, there's a cussing, there's a cussing, there's a cussing. But the bigger elephant in the room, we don't cuss. That is the PPP. The PPP doesn't mean good for Guyana at all. They are just about to hustle. And if you can hustle, the big elephant in the room is going to keep trampling upon our rights. They're going to trample on our human rights. They're going to trample on our political rights, our economical rights, to own a piece of land, to do these sort of things. We see what is happening in Linden. It is racial discrimination. They're not going to do that in Essequibo or other parts in the quarantine or so forth. They're not going to go in those particular areas and bulldoze people's homes and all these manner. They're not going to do that. But what they're going to do, they feel that they could do that only in certain villages, certain communities. The African Guyanese are made to face the brunt of this racial and political discrimination. It must stop. And for those people out in Amelia's ward, Linden, I congratulate them for standing strong. I congratulate the few community leaders and the few political leaders who are out there with the people. We need to see more. They all need to stand strong. And that form of discrimination should never happen again. A community should not stand by and watch a handful of hooligans who are working as operatives of the PPP installed regime to bulldoze properties, bulldoze people's homes. And all you have is a woman there, one woman who was standing up for her right without any interjection from the leaders within the community or the leaders who are part of the political system in Region 5, in Region 10 Starry, to stand up for their rights. Some of these leaders wait until after the fact before they start rushing in and letting us know what is happening. We already saw what was happening. But I want to show you guys how one woman who acted like a Rosa Parks to defend her property. But it didn't happen. The community didn't go out to defend. She attempted to defend. And this is what they did to her.
Somebody just to go and help the woman out in the building. I want to push her outside.
Put in the car and they want to stand.
I got you, Toy. I got you.
Yep, sorry about that. So we saw that it is sad that that lady was just there, right? She is there defending her house, defending the property which she has to provide. She has to shelter her family, her little kids, and so forth. And she was the only one. Of course, the camera person was brave enough to, but she was the only one standing up and defending her property. God knows why I wasn't on the ground there, because that bulldozer and that guy in the red hat or anybody, they would have had to speed out of that community as fast as possible. Londoners, wake up. Don't let it happen again. Go back and rebuild those houses. Help them rebuild those houses. Protect your community. Protect your region. Protect your mining tongue, even if it comes to shutting the tongue down again. And those who are part of the oppressive system, remember, it is easy. I warn them, it is easy to shut the bridge down, because at some point in time, enough is enough. But as Crabman says, pressure, bus, pipe, indeed. Right? Thank you all so much for listening. I'll have to go. I'll see you guys this evening. But remember, stop the cussing out of each other. There's a bigger elephant in the room. Focus on that big anti-dictatorship or anti-democracy, big elephant in the room. Focus on those individuals. God bless you, and God bless that beautiful country. See you later tonight. So long.
Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine bright, let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine bright, let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. The evil that men do lives after them. The evil that men do lives after them. Your evil today will blight your tomorrow. So do good today and avoid your sorrow. Take warning. You better take warning. Take warning. You better do good. Let your light shine bright. Let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. Take warning. You better take warning. Take warning. You better do good. Let your light shine bright. Let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. The evil that men do lives after them. The evil that men do lives after them.